come to Virginia to launch their businesses or to expand their current operations? And if you support business incentives, under what circumstances?
Sure. They do have a role to play. I think it's something you got to be very careful with, because we don't want to be giving unfair advantages to some folks, especially to come here paid for effectively by the folks who've already put roots down in Virginia. And I want to be very careful about that. I believe that probably one of the best ways in the technology sector we can do that is to start to engage our universities and use Governor's Opportunity Fund money to leverage research opportunities, particularly focused around the development of intellectual property. After engineering and law school, I became a patent lawyer, among other things, and have a great appreciation for that. I've worked with George Mason University in particular for several years now on developing legislation to leverage some of what we do have here in Virginia, and particularly in light of the passage of the America Invents Act, which is the most dramatic change to intellectual property law in more than my lifetime. And we have some real advantages here in Northern Virginia that I think we can leverage. George Mason University, with great leadership there on the board with Dan Clemente and their foundation, are really focused on this. And NVTC is a natural partner. I know some of the members here are participating in that, and that's a direction that we really want to go, and that's a synergy opportunity when you use the business incentives, particularly as it relates to technology companies. So that's a partnership I want to see us start using more regularly to incentivize folks to come here with the ultimate goal of job creation, not merely pure research. If we're going to do pure research, it's a different discussion than with business incentives.
There seems to be a growing appetite for tax reform in Richmond, comprehensive tax reform. Do you support the concept of tax reform generally? And also specifically, do you specifically support the taxation of services?
I do support tax reform. One of the first things we put forward in our campaign, the first policy rollout, and when I say policy rollout, I mean detailed with backup, and you can go and chew on it for a lot of pages if you choose to, or if you're having trouble sleeping, either one. And what we proposed is the following: reducing the personal income tax top rate down to 5%. Those of you who own small businesses know that's where small businesses pay taxes. It's not the business income tax. It hits your personal return on pass-through taxation. If we want entrepreneurs, if we want businesses to have more resources to be able to reinvest, we have to do that. The other is to reduce the business income tax level down to the most competitive in the country, which would be 4%, tying us with the bottom rate among the, I want to say, 40-plus states that have such taxes. Now, we have to pay for this. We don't print money like the federal government. We have to balance our books. And one way to do that, there are two parts to this. First part is holding down government spending growth to about population plus inflation. If we'd done that last year, that was worth over $500 million of tax relief. And the other portion of it is putting all of the tax exemptions and loopholes and benefits on the table. We literally have billions of dollars of them, and I don't want to take anything off the table other than education and health care in that discussion, and to involve all of the legislators, Republicans, Democrats, as well as industry experts, and rank them. Tax incentives are ideally for the people of Virginia. The point is to make that policy work for the people of Virginia. And so let's rank them, and then go to the bottom of the list of the ones that do not economically perform and get rid of them, And that's obviously a revenue raiser, tax revenue raiser, but we got to balance the books. And the difference is the cuts are proposed are job-driving cuts. The economic analysis done of our proposal suggests almost 60,000 private sector jobs created by going down that route.
General, the Commonwealth of Virginia was the first to have a cabinet-level position as the Secretary of Technology. We have a Secretary of Technology.
Brought an exhibit for this one.
Here, each administration has used the Secretary. The office is slightly varied in how the Secretary of Technology has been utilized. What role would the Secretary of Technology play in your administration?
It's particularly high pressure with Jim sitting here. I think that there are two main functions that I would see in my administration. One is internal and one is external. The internal one is driving as hard as possible within the constraints we operate under to improve the state government's own IT functioning. That's very important, and it's such a dynamic area. You know, you need someone like a Jim Duffy who is ahead of that industry, knows what's going on there, and can essentially incorporate as much of that into our own IT policy as possible. That's, you know, we're a big functioning corporation. We run the same way. We have a lot of other influences, but there's over 100,000 employees scattered all over the Commonwealth, and we have to manage that and deal with that in the 21st century, and your Secretary of Technology is key to that. The other very critical role is the external role, is the business development role, is the advertising Virginia, and pushing and pushing and pushing on the policy front to make a great area, Northern Virginia, for instance, even better. To incorporate things like the virtual reality work going on at ODU, and look for ways to use that at our other universities, to leverage those opportunities for business development right here in Virginia. We have an awful lot of assets in the Commonwealth, and the Secretary of Technology is one of your key people in the whole administration in selling Virginia, both for growth internally and outside. I mean, take a company like Microsoft. You all are in, well, every state now. And one of the considerations for internal investment is the state-to-state competition, is what, can we get a better return in Virginia than we can get in Maryland? We have that kind of competition within companies that are already here. And as all you marketers here know, cross-selling is the easiest way to go. You start with people you already got in the door. And I would be counting on a Secretary of Technology to be a major, major player in those kinds of efforts.
So over the past 7 years, NVTC has actively promoted a comprehensive grow your own strategy for technology companies starting up. And Virginia is considered to be an amazing destination for entrepreneurs as well as for early stage capital investors. What, as a governor, would you specifically do to continue that best-in-class positioning that we have here in the state of Virginia for startups?
Well, we do have a lot to build on. I mean, we do very well in this regard. A couple of things that I would want to focus on. First of all, I think that our tax policy proposals are in part intended, part of the job growth we intend and expect is new growth. It's encouraging